Welcome to Miss Rowe Classroom. Today we'll discuss A Tiger in the Zoo by Leslie Norris. Before we start, like, subscribe and share the video. The poem A Tiger in the Zoo was first published in 1986 in the British Broadcasting Corporation's radio program for schools, titled Pictures in Your Mind If We Had Wings. The poem captures the plight of a confined tiger, walking back and forth in a small enclosure, far removed from his natural habitat. Though majestic and powerful, his presence is dulled by confinement. The poet contrasts the tiger's present life with what it ought to have been, prowling through tall grasses, hunting deer, and showing his dominance near villages. Instead, he is trapped in a man-made prison, his wild instincts stifled. Visitors come and go, but he shows no interest. At night, he hears faraway sounds and looks at the stars, silently remembering a life of freedom he once had. Let's begin with the first quatrain. He stalks in his vivid stripes, the few steps of his cage on pads of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. The tiger moves back and forth inside its cage, its bright, striking striped fur catching the eye. The word vivid emphasizes the intense and striking nature of the tiger's stripes, which starkly contrast with the dullness of its captivity. Because the cage is small, his movement is limited to just a few steps. The line emphasizes the confinement and lack of space in which the wild animal is forced to live. The tiger walks silently on his soft paws, which generally help him sneak up on prey in the wild. The line enhances the tiger's grace and suppressed power. Though he doesn't roar or protest loudly, he is filled with intense anger and frustration. It is a quiet, simmering anger he cannot express, a sad reminder of the wild spirit that has been subdued or quelled. His rage is silent because he cannot express it. It simmers silently beneath the surface. Second quatrain. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, near the water hole where plump deer pass. The poet imagines where the tiger truly belongs, hiding quietly in the dark parts of the jungle, watching and waiting for prey. The tiger moves smoothly and silently through tall grass. The word sliding suggests stealth and grace, as he prepares to hunt. A water hole is a shared place where animals come to drink water, making it the perfect spot for a tiger to hunt. Healthy and well-fed deer often walk by the water hole. The poet shows this as the tiger's natural hunting ground, where it should live freely. Third quatrain. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws terrorizing the village. The poet says the tiger should growl fiercely near homes close to the forest. Snarling shows its wild and threatening nature. These houses are on the jungle's border, where people and wild animals often come into contact. The tiger shows its sharp teeth and claws to scare people or protect itself, a natural display of its power. In the wild, the tiger might cause fear among villagers. This line suggests his true wild behavior, intense, wild and untamed, not the quiet, caged version of himself in the zoo. Fourth quatrain. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Instead of living freely in the jungle, the tiger is trapped inside a small enclosure made of hard cement, cold and unnatural. Even though he is powerful, his strength is useless because he is stuck behind metal bars in the cage. The tiger keeps walking back and forth in his small space, repeating the same short steps. This shows boredom, frustration, and a lack of freedom. He ignores the people watching him. He is too lost in his sadness and anger to care about them. In the third stanza, the tiger is imagined in the wild, showing his natural power and fierceness. However, the shift in the fourth stanza is stark, because it contrasts the tiger's wild behavior with the reality of his captivity. The tiger's image as a fearsome predator starkly contrasts with the confined animal in the zoo. The poet uses this sharp contrast to highlight the tiger's loss of freedom and instincts due to captivity. Fourth stanza emphasizes the tragedy of the tiger being stripped of his power and natural role in the wild, and attention is given to the cruelty of keeping such a majestic creature locked away. Fifth quatrain. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. As night falls and the zoo becomes quiet, the tiger hears the final sounds of the day, perhaps a zookeeper or a departing visitor. He also hears security vehicles or guards moving around the zoo at night, reminding us that he is constantly watched and restricted. The tiger, though trapped, still has sharp, glowing eyes. Brilliant eyes suggest his undiminished natural beauty and inner strength. He looks up at the stars in the night sky, symbols of freedom and vastness, something he can see but never reach. It shows his longing for the wild life he has lost. In the last stanza, the poet shows that even though the tiger is locked in a cage, he still has moments of quiet reflection. At night, he hears the sounds of the zoo, like patrolling cars, but also looks up at the stars. The stars represent freedom and the vast, open wild the tiger once knew. Despite being trapped, his inner strength and longing for freedom remain. The tiger's brilliant eyes symbolize his physical beauty and longing to return to the wild. Let's begin with the analysis of the poem. First, central idea. The central idea of the poem, A Tiger in the Zoo, is the tragic contrast between the tiger's natural freedom in the wild and its confinement in a zoo. The poet highlights the tiger's loss of power, freedom, and dignity while locked in a cage. The tiger's inner rage and longing for the wild are emphasized, critiquing the cruelty of imprisoning wild animals for human entertainment. The poem reflects on the nature of captivity and its impact on the spirit of a once mighty creature. Second, poem structure and rhyme. The poem consists of 5 stanzas. Each stanza contains 4 lines, that is a quatrain. The poem doesn't have a strict rhyme scheme. In stanzas 2, 3, and 5, the second line rhymes with the fourth line. Grass, pass, edge, village, cars, stars. Third, tone. The poem uses simple language and soft imagery to show the tiger's pain, helping children understand empathy without harshness. It encourages children to understand the difference between a tiger's life in the wild and in the zoo. The tone also gently teaches a lesson about freedom, respect for animals, and the wrongness of captivity without being too forceful. Fourth, symbolism. The cage symbolizes the restriction and the loss of freedom. It represents the unnatural environment the tiger is forced to live in, which contrasts sharply with its natural habitat. The cage is a symbol of oppression. The concrete cell is a more specific symbol of the harshness and coldness of captivity. Concrete is unnatural and imprisoning, representing how far removed the tiger is from its natural world. The tiger's brilliant eyes symbolize its inner strength and wisdom, even in captivity. Despite being physically trapped, the tiger retains its spirit and awareness of the world. The stars represent freedom, hope, and the wild. They symbolize the tiger's longing to return to the open, natural world. The stars remind the tiger of the vast world outside the cage that the tiger can never reach. Next point is theme of the poem. First, freedom versus captivity. The poem highlights the tiger's natural freedom in the wild and the stark difference when trapped in a zoo. It emphasizes the loss of instincts and power as the tiger is confined to a cage. Second, nature's majesty versus human control. The tiger represents the wild and untamed nature of the animal kingdom, while the zoo symbolizes human control and manipulation of nature for entertainment. The poem critiques this cruelty and the unnatural environment humans create for wild animals. Third, the cruelty of captivity. The poem explores captivity's emotional and physical impact on wild animals, especially how it diminishes their natural beauty and behavior. The tiger's quiet rage and frustration illustrate the cruelty of being taken from the wild and confined for human viewing. To summarize the explanation, Leslie Norris's poem, Tiger, or A Tiger in the Zoo, shows the sad life of a tiger who should be free in the wild. By comparing the tiger's strength and natural behavior with his silent suffering behind bars, the poet tries to convey the cruelty of captivity and the importance of freedom for wild animals. We have finished explaining the Class 10 poem, A Tiger in the Zoo. Please visit our reference website, mistroclassroom.com, for exam-oriented summaries, literary devices, extra questions, themes, character sketches, and extract-based questions for Class 10. We have already discussed Nelson Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom. In the next session, we'll analyze the first story in Stories About Flying. If you enjoyed the content, ask questions, subscribe, like, and share the video. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. Bye-bye.